How the butter on your bread and the chocolate in your pocket could be contributing to deforestation in Brazil. Our exclusive investigation reveals the uncomfortable truth about some supermarket staples.
People aren't really aware of necessarily that their cheese has deforestation in it, and I think when people find that out, they're really shocked. And the reason why it matters is because these forests that are being destroyed are critically important for our climate.
Also tonight, Asda and Mars hit by the backlog at British ports as toy retailers also warn of shortages at Christmas.
Every week, 80 lives in the UK are changed forever because of HIV.
Elton John asked the government to make good on its promise to end new cases of HIV and William Shatner's trek to the stars and his new perspective on life as we know it.
I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened. It's extraordinary.
This is the ITV Evening News with Romilly Weeks.
Good evening. We begin tonight with an ITV News investigation linking some of Britain's best-known brands to vast deforestation in Brazil. From Cadbury's chocolate to Cathedral City cheese, tonight we reveal how everyday staples are linked to the destruction of a South American savanna. Dairy cattle here are being fed soybeans grown there, and that global demand is causing forests to be cleared for agriculture. And while much deforestation in Brazil is not illegal, it is causing real climate concerns. Rupert Evelyn has this special report.
These instantly recognisable dairy foods that proudly wear their British farm credentials are connected to the fate of the Cerrado. An investigation by ITV News, the Bureau of Investigative Journalism and Greenpeace Unearthed has linked destruction of Brazilian forest with UK dairy products through soya, the protein-rich cattle feed supplement. We found Cargill, one of the world's largest food conglomerates, is sourcing soya from recently deforested land that in turn finds its way to the UK. British farmers believe they are buying sustainably sourced Brazilian soya, but our investigation found certified soya is mixed with beans from deforested farms.
No farmer wants to see the deforestation.
Land's End in Cornwall seems a world away from Brazil. Like dairy farms up and down the country, James Warren mixes soya into his cattle feed. And he's worried about its impact on the environment.
The deforestation, we can't sustain that's not sustainable. And sustainability is what I want, is what everybody wants. But it means if we work together and to change, that's the way forward. Yeah. But it needs everybody, from the sort of from the source through to the supermarkets to the consumer. All working together.
There are likely to be more products, but these are the ones we've connected to deforestation. We asked shoppers at Chelmsford Market what they made of the link between them and killing off tropical forests.
They're not thinking of the future, are they? They're only thinking of now.
Then what else am I going to give them? Toast, but then you can't have no butter. So then what do I feed my kids?
It won't affect me, it won't affect my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and their children. There's a knock-on effect.
For many, the issue of deforestation stretches beyond illegal activity. More than half of the original Cerrado forest has been lost, and with private landowners here still permitted by the state to destroy forest for farming, I suggested to a senior official at the Brazilian Environment Ministry that they had a problem.
The Forest Code allows for rural landowners to suppress a certain amount of vegetation.
But you are still chopping down trees in order to grow soya.
It is occurring in areas where they are allowed to happen. This is my point.
So you have fundamentally, because it's law, you have no issue with it?
Yeah.
With cows fed on a diet linked to deforestation, we are eating into planet-saving forest to fulfil the human need for food.
Well, Rupert is here. Rupert, what do these brands have to say about this?
Well, the products we've mentioned are made by companies that may not be such familiar names. Saputo, they produce Cathedral City cheddar and Country Life butter and Clover spread. They say that from early next year, farms that supply their Davidstow creamery must source feed with a sustainable soy purchasing policy. And they say that by buying credits, they directly support producers who cultivate sustainably. Arla, now they make Anchor butter and Cravendale milk, say they are taking steps to manage soy responsibly and also buy the credits to support sustainable growing. Mondelez, Cadbury's owner, say eliminating deforestation is critical. Their suppliers are expected to ensure 100% deforestation-free feed by 2023. Cargill, now they're the US-based food giant. They say they take this type of grievance against their suppliers extremely seriously. And if violations are found, they'll take immediate action in line with their policies. And Asda told us they're committed to reducing food production linked to deforestation and are working with milk producers to ensure all their soya is certified by 2025. Now, they say the supply chain can be extremely complex, and that is absolutely right. The issue here, in many respects, is the lack of transparency, which can mask problems within the whole supply chain. And that's what leads to deforested soya, illegal or uncertified, finding its way into the chain.
Right, Rupert, thanks for that. And to see more of the well-known products whose supply chains we've traced, plus tips on how to make sustainable choices, head to our website, itv.com/news. On to more of the day's news now. And the EU has set out its response to proposed changes to a key Brexit agreement. They've agreed concessions to reduce the number of checks required on British goods heading across the Irish Sea. It will mean products like sausages and other chilled meats banned from import into the EU can still be sold in Northern Ireland. Our political correspondent Libby Vina explains.
It was dubbed the Sausage War. Checks agreed as part of the Brexit deal, creating all sorts of problems in Northern Ireland. The owner of this Belfast deli says it's vital fresh talks between Britain and the EU help ease the flow of goods.
All this friction is not good for business. It's just hassle, and we're a small family business and we don't have the resources.
Maros Šefčovič, the EU negotiator who visited Northern Ireland last month, says his new proposals are a direct and genuine response to the concerns of people there.
We have put a lot of hard work into this package. We explored every possible angle of the protocol and at times went beyond current EU law. In effect, we are proposing an alternative model for implementation of the protocol.
The original deal, which keeps Northern Ireland in the EU's single market for goods, effectively created a trade border down the Irish Sea, disrupting some supply chains with the rest of the UK. Now the EU is offering big concessions, including an 80% reduction in customs checks on some goods and scrapping checks altogether on chilled meats. Both EU and UK licensed medicines will be available in Northern Ireland. But Britain's chief negotiator says it's still not acceptable for the provisions to be overseen by the European Court of Justice and says further concessions are necessary.
It does look like from the outside that the EU has moved a lot, and you're still trying to throw a spanner in the works over the ECJ.
So we need to find a solution everybody can get behind, and that means looking at some of the fundamentals. It means we need to get to a solution of significant change.
Did you negotiate in good faith yourself?
We negotiated to find a result, to get an agreement.
But how hopeful are those who transport goods across the Irish Sea that any new deal will make their life easier?
They're very complex movements, and for the whole industry, it's been a very difficult 10 months, so it has. But at last, recognition's been made that it isn't working.
Certainly the EU seems to have moved, meaning a compromise could now be in sight. Libby Vina, ITV News, Westminster.
Next, the issues at Britain's busiest port are continuing days after ITV News first revealed details of the logjam. Bosses at Felixstowe say the situation there is beginning to improve, but tonight we've learned of more companies experiencing delays, including Mars and Asda. Our correspondent Dan Rivers is here. Dan, should we be bracing for a Christmas crisis?
I think it's looking ominous. So we've learnt that from tomorrow, empty containers going into the port, so this is containers that have already been offloaded, gone out to warehouses, coming back in, will be turned away. That's going to affect companies like Maersk and Evergreen from 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And it's a sign that they're basically reaching this capacity in court. They've normally got space for about 50,000 empty containers, as well as all the ones coming in. Clearly, they're heading towards that limit. Bearing in mind that Felixstowe handles about 36% of the UK's trade in and out of the country, you can see the knock-on effects across the whole economy is going to be quite considerable. Felixstowe had said that the situation was improving when we reported on this on Monday, but we've learnt, as you mentioned now, that Mars and Asda are now both experiencing delays. Asda specifically with their George clothing line. Mars is a huge, big conglomerate that, things like Pet Foods, Galaxy, Uncle Ben's, Dolmia, some of those brands as well. So I think the message is that although the port is trying to put a positive spin on things, it's looking like delays are building up again, and as we head into the busiest period heading in towards Christmas.
Dan, thank you very much for that. Two more energy suppliers have gone bust tonight due to rising wholesale prices. Pure Planet has announced it's ceasing trading. It supplies gas and electricity to around 235,000 domestic customers. Colorado Energy also announced it's to close, affecting 15,000 customers. And an MP who threatened to use acid against her boyfriend's female friend has been found guilty of harassment. Claudia Webb, who sits in the Commons as an independent, made a string of calls to 59-year-old Michelle Merritt. She'll be sentenced next month. COVID measures could soon be scrapped for family doctors in a move that could allow more patients to be seen in person. Updated advice is expected to relax rules on social distancing in surgeries and provide more funding for face-to-face clinics. But our health editor, Emily Morgan, has heard from one family who say any changes come too late.
Life for Latifa came to an abrupt end in February. She died at just 27 after developing an aggressive form of cancer. It was misdiagnosed after numerous phone consultations with her GP. Her grieving mother thinks she may still be alive if she'd been seen face to face.
She may not have been here. She may have lived a few months, few years. We'll never know. We'll never know now. But there was just that little chance if they'd have seen her, we could have been in a different place right now.
Before the pandemic, around 80% of consultations in England were in person. That fell to just over half at the height of the third national lockdown. But latest figures show it's only risen by 4 percentage points, despite restrictions ending.
But if the government, as it's expected to do, makes similar changes in surgeries, will it make any difference at all?
We would love to see patients face to face. That's how we always operated. It's what we're used to. That's an easier way of managing patients. But actually going back to the previous model is not going to help that situation, and actually probably will see longer waiting times for patients.
And new funding, doctors have been told, is coming for winter, will, they say, only make life harder for them.
GP practice teams already have significant burdens that they're carrying, many targets that we're expected to hit, many reports and audits that we're expected to do, and none of that will be taken away from GP teams. And in addition, they'll be expected to jump through further hoops to secure additional funding to support their practices to enable them to see more patients.
There's no doubt measures to improve conditions for patients and doctors will be welcome. The question is whether it really works in practice. Emily Morgan, ITV News.
Still to come on the ITV Evening News, no end in sight to the volcano eruption on La Palma as more people flee their homes. And
what you have given me is the most profound experience I can imagine.
The emotion of William Shatner after his record-breaking space flight. Those stories and more after this very short break. Welcome back. Sir Elton John is among the celebrities leading calls for the government to end HIV by the end of the decade. He's appeared in a new film urging ministers to expand testing and provide better support. The campaign is also backed by the makers of TV drama It's a Sin, as Stacey Foster reports.
Every week, 80 lives in the UK are changed forever because of HIV.
There are at least 6,600 people who are living with HIV but are not diagnosed.
A call from Elton John and the creator and cast of one of last year's most successful dramas to end new cases of HIV by 2030.
Expand HIV testing.
Alongside the stars, the video also includes the stories of those living with HIV.
Everyone should know that someone living with HIV and on effective treatment like me can pass it on.
S.A. Johnson was diagnosed 2 years ago and says things have improved, but not enough.
There's been good experiences. There's also been like terrible experiences of when you tell someone I'm HIV positive and they give you this look of, oh, you're one of them. And then it makes you think I do not belong.
There are boys dying all over the world from sex.
Don't be ridiculous. That would be all over the news.
The success of It's a Sin last year led to an increase in people ordering free HIV testing kits. This latest campaign is calling for more funding for testing and prevention to stop transmissions within the next decade.
It's a Sin has been a phenomenal success, downloaded by 1 in 3 UK households. And those who've watched it are asking, what can we do about HIV now? And that's why we're calling for the government to fund a HIV action plan and make sure that HIV testing is available in A&E departments across the country.
Do not miss this opportunity.
The government is due to publish its plan to end HIV by the end of the year, but those at the forefront of this campaign say it won't be possible without more money. Stacey Foster, ITV News.
An issue with the NHS app and website temporarily left people unable to access their COVID pass today. It meant some were unable to prove they are vaccinated and safe to travel abroad, with some complaining they missed flights as a result. It was down for more than 3 hours. And nobody won last night's record Euro Millions jackpot. £184 million was up for grabs, but no tickets matched the lucky numbers. It means there's another chance to win it on Friday. It's more than 3 weeks since the volcanic eruption began on Spain's La Palma island, but the advancing lava flow is showing no signs of ending. Yesterday, another 800 residents were given just hours to leave their homes. That order prompted an urgent scramble to pack up lives and livelihoods, as Chloe Keedy reports.
Residents on the island of La Palma are living in the shadow of uncertainty. Smoke and ash fill the sky overhead, and on the ground, hot lava continues its advance. The volcano is disrupting every aspect of life here. Another 800 people have now been ordered to leave their homes, bringing the total to 7,000. In La Laguna, it was a race against time to save school equipment, books, toys, and family pets. One woman who came here to help her relatives leave said, "It's sad to get here and only have a couple of hours to evacuate everything. You're looking at what you can get out and what needs to stay. You have your heart in your hands." Lava has already engulfed an area the size of 600 rugby pitches, destroying everything in its path, including this industrial estate. 3,000 people that live nearby are now stuck in their homes, shielding from toxic fumes. Visiting La Palma today, Spain's Prime Minister pleaded with people to be patient. He said the island's recovery would cost hundreds of millions of pounds. But only when this volcano stops erupting can they begin to assess the true extent of the damage it's caused. Chloe Keedy, ITV News.
An Australian marathon swimmer has made history after crossing the English Channel for a record 44th time. Chloe McArdle's historic swim across the Dover Strait means she has now completed the challenge more times than anyone else, which has earned her the title of Queen of the English Channel. She appeared in good spirits as she landed on the French coast after the gruelling 10-hour journey from Kent. And finally, to the final frontier, where at 90 years old, William Shatner has blasted his way into the history books. The actor who famously played Captain Kirk in the Star Trek series said he was filled with emotion after becoming the oldest man ever in space. Robert Moore reports now on a true star in the sky.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to launch this rocket. Godspeed, New Shepard.
From the scrublands of Texas, William Shatner boldly went where no 90-year-old has ever gone before. Ringing the bell of the rocket ship, he was strapped in for a voyage of a lifetime.
Command engine start. 2, 1.
The actor who entertained a generation with his space adventures as Captain Kirk was now experiencing the real thing.
What a launch. We are on our way to Max Q, the first milestone here on its flight to space.
This voyage lasted just 10 minutes, reaching an altitude of 65 miles, before the capsule floated down to Earth. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Blue Origin, was there to greet Shatner as he emerged.
Captain Kirk himself, the great William Shatner.
The actor almost lost for words as he described how much this experience meant to him.
What you have given me is the most profound experience I can imagine. I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened. It's extraordinary, extraordinary. I hope I never recover from this.
Space, the final frontier.
The 1960s TV show made Captain Kirk and his Starship Enterprise a franchise that defined an era. Now William Shatner himself has breached that final frontier.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Calling today's voyage a symbol of the enormity of life. Robert Moore, ITV News, Washington.
What an experience. And that is all for now. Tom will be here with the news at 10 from me and all the team. Goodbye.